By way of explanation, I know when things happen by word of mouth, a lot of times there might be some confusion and there might be some about the purpose of this meeting today. So let me just briefly tell you why we are here. Everybody knows, I think, that we've got a problem in Alabama with agribusiness labor. We particularly chose the Mobile-Baldwin area to have this first form of this type in the state because as early as January, our plant nursery industry is going to be needing labor to get their growing season started, followed by the actual growing process and then shipping. So it's important that we identify and find good employees for these employers. What we're going to do today is we tried to think of almost everybody that had any kind of program, whether it be a federal agency or ministers or whoever that might be helpful to us in identifying, or to you all that are employers, in identifying good workers. So that's what we're going to do, is go through a series of 5 or 6 presenters for their particular area of interest, and then we're going to let those folks go out here to tables in this back hall and be there to visit with you one-on-one, to share contact information, to ask questions, or whatever you need from them. We will just briefly take some questions and answers at the end of the presentation, and most always when you get a question at a meeting like this or any other group meeting, there's not just one person that has that same question on their mind. So we will take, depending on the time frame, a few questions from the group and before we break out into the one-on-one type meetings. I want to introduce a couple of people up here at the head table. Deborah Green from Baldwin County, she and her husband have a nursery over there, a plant nursery, and they certainly are interested in this. And Deborah has been extremely helpful to us in coordinating this meeting and getting the word out that we were doing this. We also have James Harwell next to her, who is head of the Alabama Nursery and Landscape Association. His office is actually in Auburn, but he is down here with us today. And James is working with the extension system to do a survey in these 2 counties. We've got real good contact information with the plant nursery industry in these 2 counties, and they are doing a survey to identify as nearly as possible how many employees we're going to need in that sector when they start hiring. So if you all will be sure, if you didn't do it, be sure and fill out one of those slips with your contact information so that we can keep you updated as we move through this process. Our success or lack of success here in this area is going to determine whether we do this same type thing in other parts of the state where we have similar problems, but they're going to be just a little bit later arising, and there'll be some different players involved as well. So it's extremely important that we be able to keep you updated, and at the same time you be able to contact us. I want to introduce Senator Ben Brooks. Where's Ben? Ben's back in the back. Ben is one of the outstanding state senators in Alabama. Unfortunately for those of us interested in the legislature, he's decided to run for circuit judge in Mobile County. I saw David, where are you? I saw you come in. David Sessions is back here, and I saw, didn't Chad Fincher just come in? Chad Fincher's back there in the back. Chad is chairman of the House Agriculture Committee and certainly an important person to us in the work that we do. And David himself is a farmer, so we value the input and experience of both of those men. I also want to introduce a group of black ministers up here. Where's Bobby?
Yeah, right here.
Bobby Cunningham is working with us at the department, particularly with inner city ministers, to try to also be a part of helping us with folks that are looking for jobs and folks that need good employees. As I told one of the television stations earlier, I feel like I'm running the eHarmony show or something, because what we're trying to do is make a win-win situations and get good matches with folks that need jobs and want jobs and are willing to work with people that need good employees. The first presentation we're going to have today is by Kenyon Brown, who is the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District in Alabama and has a program that he wants to familiarize us with.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you. Part of my job as the U.S. Attorney is to protect the community, and that takes many different forms. One of the ways, of course, is prosecuting those who need to be prosecuted, but another smaller aspect of that, a less publicized aspect, is to help those who are re-entering the community after their term of incarceration, helping them to be successful once they enter the community. Now, many of you may not know, but the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world and the highest prison population in the world at 2.3 million people. 32,000 of those people are imprisoned in the state of Alabama, 3,000 right here in Mobile County. Nationally, 97% of those offenders who are released will come back to the communities which they left, so they will be here among us regardless. The question is whether or not they will succeed or fail once they return to the community. Nationally, 30% of adult offenders who are released from prison actually go back to prison or are re-arrested within the first 6 months of their release. And sadly, within 3 years of that release, 67%, or 2 out of 3, are re-incarcerated and go back to jail. Revocations are the fastest category of prison admissions today. Parole violators account for 35% of the new cases today, as compared to only 17% in 1980. Recidivism, just in the Southern District of Alabama, between 2007 and 2009, 340 ex-offenders violated the terms of their release. Now, this is just in the federal system, costing the American taxpayer $8.8 million. If they had been successful on supervised release, it would have only cost you, the American taxpayer, $1.2 million. Roughly 75% of adult inmates have substance abuse problems. 40% of those released have no high school diploma or GED, and only 1 out of 3 receive any type of vocational training during the time of their incarceration. Now, interestingly, according to collegeboard.com, between 2004 and 2005, the cost to send your child to a state institution would cost you roughly about $13,000. And if you sent them to a private university, it would be about $28,000. Annually, the cost to house a federal prisoner now costs anywhere from $28,000 to $32,000. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather see our tax dollars and our tax resources go to pay for Yale rather than jail. Well, how do we accomplish that? Well, we cannot incarcerate our way out of the problem. It's too expensive. There are not enough jails built to hold all those prisoners. And even if there were, is that really how we as a people, as a society, want to spend our resources, both human and monetarily? Now, studies have shown that for ex-offenders to be successful when they come out, they need 3 things: housing, drug treatment, and jobs. That's what I'm here to talk about. Jobs are very important. The Administrative Office report up in Washington, their statistics show that between 2002 and 2006, roughly 262,000 federal prisoners were released. Of that number, those who had no employment during the time of their supervised release, which is typically about 3 years, 50% failed and went back to prison. Of those who were employed part of that time, part of that 3-year time frame, 88% were successful and did not go back to prison. Of those who had a job during the entirety of the time of their supervised release, 93% were successful and did not commit a new crime or go back to prison. So jobs are very important. It removes the economic incentive to commit a new crime. We as the greater community receive the tangential benefit of their good citizenship. It's a significantly lesser tax burden, again, $8.8 million compared to $1.2 million. Again, that's just here in the Southern District of Alabama. And they become tax-paying citizens instead of a tax burden. Now, let's talk business. What is there to help your bottom line as an employer? There's Fidelity bonding available to you for free. We've paid for a number of bonds with our Weed and Seed money, which is a federal program, so that if you hire an ex-offender to come work for you and they create a problem or they steal from you or something like that, you'll be covered up to the amount of $5,000 for free. Basically, it's a free insurance policy at no cost to you. There's also a program through the Department of Labor and Mobile Works where you can get 50% of their on-the-job training time paid for up to 6 weeks. There's also a work opportunity tax credit. For each ex-offender that you hire within 1 year of their release from prison, you get a $2,500 tax credit per ex-offender that you hire. Now, also, if you think they're a great employee later on down the road, but they need a little bit more training, they would also be possibly eligible for this individual training account where they can receive $2,000 to $8,000 directed to an educational institution of their choice so that they can be trained in a different craft or different skills. Now, as part of this program, which I've called Project Hope, Helping Offenders Pursue Excellence, I had an earlier meeting with the Mobile Chamber of Commerce because I wanted them to know about the economic incentives of hiring ex-offenders. Also, I wanted to let them know about the great importance of hiring ex-offenders in our community. Again, they're going to be in our community. It's just whether or not they're going to be a problem or they're not going to be a problem. Now, we also held an ex-offender employment workshop as well as an ex-offender-only job fair. Now, this is the flyer that we created for the meeting with the Chamber. The ex-offender employment workshop, we met with them, we partnered with Bishop State and Career Services, and we taught them job skills. Don't come into an interview with saggy pants or do-rag on, take a shower, you know, that type of thing. It was very successful. We gave them the do's and don'ts of interviews, the things that they should say and not say to potential employers. Now, Quentin Jackson is not an individual that went through our specific reentry program, but he is an ex-offender. He's employed at a shipbuilders down in Biola-Battery. Quentin Jackson, as you can see, had some trouble with the law, but most recently he's doing very well. Quentin Jackson learned welding as a trade, and not only that, he was so good and such a model employee that he now supervises 20 other welders. Now, I'm not going to sell you a bed of roses and say that every ex-offender is going to work out, because they won't. His employer will tell you that he hired several who washed out, and he wouldn't want to see back on the premises. But he also has several on the premises who have been successful. And I can tell you this, all of those ex-offenders who were employed by that particular shipbuilder and others feel a great bit of loyalty to the employer who hired them. And they told me, they said, look, we have the skill set now, we can go elsewhere, but this employer gave me an opportunity. I'm going to stick here regardless. So it does make a difference, and these folks are grateful. Now, I just want to mention, can we turn that up, Eric? Sorry, let me start this over. Partnership making a difference. I just want to show our job fair. I'm going to get some sound there. Hopefully you all will be able to hear it. Got a sound? Should be a switch on the actual microphone there. Eric.
It's one here.
All right, well, I'm going to move on. Sorry about that. Okay, now the job fair we held back in May. We advertised that to members of the business community. We had a fair showing. It was a hard sell for employers to hire ex-offenders, but those who saw the value of that came out. And we had advertised that we were going to have about 150 ex-offenders for them to interview. Well, word got out about the program, and we had about 400 ex-offenders show up at the job fair. So these are folks that are looking for work. The U.S. Probation Office has recently told me that they have 49 individuals that they think are good candidates for you all to interview and possibly hire. All we ask is that you give them a chance, that you give them an interview. Now, reentry. Now what? We're establishing a statewide reentry program and network in order to support the ex-offender in their coming back to the community. Now, the contacts, I want to mention a few folks that are here. Eric Day, you heard him earlier. If you would, Eric, stand up. He is employed with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and if you have any questions about reentry, you can call Eric Day at the number listed there. Also, we've got a few other folks. Ken Cole, who is the Chief Probation Officer of the United States Probation Office, and Chip Dooley, who is the Workforce Development Liaison of the Probation Office. If you two gentlemen would stand just so they can see you. And if you have concerns about if those folks are under supervision, those folks can tell you what the terms of their supervision are. You know, how often they're drug tested and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong, not all of the people that are going to seek a job with you are currently under supervision. There was one young man that I met at the job fair that said, hey, I had a conviction from 18 years ago, and I still have trouble getting a job. And he's been a good citizen since the time of that conviction. So a lot of these people just need an opportunity. Dolores Bagsby from Community Corrections is also a good contact, as well as the state person for probations. Her name is Anna Watson. I'm not sure if she's in a representative here today, but that's a good number or a good person to talk to as well. Now, I know that Mr. Ken Cole, as well as Chip Dooley, will be available in the back. As was mentioned, what we'd like to do is establish a pipeline between U.S. probation, state probation, and everyone else here, so that we can make sure that at least we have a connection between the ex-offender seeking employment and the employers who may want to provide them with an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Kenyon, thank you, and I think you all agree with me. We're fortunate to have somebody of his stature with an interest in what we're trying to accomplish here. The next person we're going to hear from, Dennis, would you see where the thermostat is? I think it might be a little warm in here. The next person we're going to hear from is Bob Brandon with the Department of Industrial Relations. Tom Surtees is the director of that agency, and Tom was one of the first people that I talked to when I realized the problem that was being created for agribusiness interest labor for us in Alabama. And he immediately went to work. He and Bob, in fact, came to visit with me. They immediately went to work simplifying their website to make it easier, and he'll probably tell you about that, to both apply and hire people through the department. And I'm not going to steal your thunder, Bob, so come on up here.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I appreciate that, and I do bring regards to Mr. Surtees today. He is very sorry that he was not able to make this meeting because he is very involved in this process, and he is under the weather though, but I was fortunate. I did get a copy of his notes, so I'm bringing his message to you anyway. But the reason we're here today is twofold. I'm the Employment Service Director with the Department of Industrial Relations. I'm on Mr. Surtees' staff. And we have career centers throughout the state of Alabama that provide services to job seekers as well as employers. We have services that we can provide that probably many of you are not aware of, because quite honestly, I've been working for 41 years with the Department of Industrial Relations, and I can recall back in my early days, we did have, relationships with the agricultural community, and we referred people and helped recruit people for agriculture. But it's been a good while since we have really reached out to the agricultural industry and provided services to them. And what we're wanting to do now is to take a look at what we can do to reacquaint you with us and what we can do for you. And the best thing about it is there's no charge involved. It's already paid for. So it's a service that's there for you, and we would love to encourage you to take advantage of that. Secondly, we want to hear from you. And I'm so happy that we're going to have an opportunity to meet with you afterwards and talk to you individually or in for small groups and tell you more in detail the services that we can provide to you. And we want to find out if we're not doing something that can help you. Let us know about it, and we're certainly going to try to do anything we can to tailor our services to be able to help you. That's our whole purpose. Some of the services that we do provide, probably the major thing that we provide is through the Career Center system, and we've got 45 locations throughout the state. Right here in Baldwin and Mobile County, we have the Career Center here in Mobile off of Spring Hill Avenue. We have a Bay Minette office, and we also have an office in Foley. So we pretty well cover the Baldwin and the Mobile areas with our career centers there to provide services to you. We are the state's public labor exchange. There's no charge for the services that we provide. We do this in a couple of different ways. Some of you may be familiar with Alabama Job Link. That's our electronic jobs network, where any employer or any job seeker can go into that network from any internet computer 24/7 anytime they want to, and they can register as a job seeker. They can register as an employer to find people that they're interested in finding to go to work for them. You can also come into one of these 45 career centers, and you can register there and you can get staff assistance. That's either the job seekers or employers. Whoever needs assistance, we have trained staff available in our career centers to be able to work with you to help you satisfy the needs that you've got. Right now, we have, of interest to you, we've got more than 500 temporary resumes in this AJL system. These are people that have told us since back in early October that they were interested in doing agricultural work on a temporary basis here in the state of Alabama. Now, aside from that, we've also got another 800 people that are interested, in any kind of agricultural work. They have put resumes into our system. So we're looking at over 1,000 people there that are in the system currently that are telling us through their registration they're interested in finding agricultural work. And I would certainly invite you to either go to the office and talk to our folks about getting some referrals, or you can go in and register as an employer on your own, and you can look at those resumes, and you can find out who these folks are and what kind of skills and experience they've got, and the ones that you'd like to contact, you can do that and, hire them if you'd like to. Another thing that we offer to employers particularly, you can go into any of our career centers and you can have an office to interview people if you like. We can also do pre-screening for you. We can let people know that an employer is going to be at one of our career centers several days in advance, and we can start recruiting. We can find people that are coming in to see us or people that are in our files. We can set up interview times for you to come there to that office, and you can interview them right there, or you can interview them wherever you'd like to. It's strictly up to you how you want to handle the hiring process. You can do it at your home, at your place of business, or you can come to our career centers and use our facilities. Another initiative that we've got going, and you saw the poster over here that we put up when we first came in, is Work Alabama. This is an initiative that was began back in early October, and Work Alabama is where we, as a career center system with the Department of Industrial Relations, is refocusing our efforts to people that are looking for temporary work. Generally, we deal with people that are looking for full-time employment. But we have, through the oil spill, recent experience in working with temporaries, hiring temporaries for companies. Also in the recent tornadoes that we had in the state, where a lot of temporaries were hired for specific, jobs to take care of those needs that were needed at that particular time. So we're more and more going back to looking at the hiring of temporaries for employers, and we've got some real recent experience in doing that. No reason why we can't apply that same experience to the agricultural sector. And as I mentioned, we have over 1,000 people available through Alabama Job Link. I would certainly encourage you to visit our office. That we have our Mobile representative here today, Mr. Derek Turner. Derek, if you would raise your hand or stand up. Derek is on our staff at the Mobile Career Center. Derek has worked for us 13 years. He's a native of the Mobile area, and he has worked with our employers, and certainly knows a great deal about what we can do to provide services to you. And we have a staff of folks back at the Mobile Career Center that would be happy to work with you. We also have another program, the H-2A program. This is a federal temporary visa program that the Department of Industrial Relations administers here in the state of Alabama. This past year, we had probably, I want to say, over 50 employers that were, participated in this program, and we had over 500 people that were brought into the state, legal aliens, brought in, to do farm work. And we're fortunate to have today, many of you may know this gentleman, Mr. Travis Crabtree, is our H-2A program coordinator here in the state of Alabama. And he works all over the state in the agricultural industry to administer this program for our department and work with the farm industry to be able to satisfy whatever needs they may have through this H-2A program. And we know many of you, this is probably the first time that you've been hearing about the services that we have. We want you to know that we're available for you and we'll be happy to work with you any way that we can to be able to provide the labor that you're looking for. We've got folks in our files right now, and that's what we try to do. We are the labor exchange. We're sort of like the eHarmony, trying to bring the folks together. Jobs for people and people for jobs. That's what we've always been known as, and that's what we want to continue to try to do, is to be the matchmaker there in the middle to help bring people together that are looking for work and people that are looking to hire people. That's what our job is. That's what our mission is. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do to provide the services that you're looking for. Now, I have some pamphlets down here across the front which list all of the career centers here in the state of Alabama, along with just a brief summary of the services that we provide. But the main services that are the ones that I've already gone over: labor exchange, interview space at the offices, and the Work Alabama Initiative and the H-2A program. We certainly would be happy to talk to anybody about these and be able to provide any kind of assistance that we can. We're there for you. We're a state agency, and we've been doing this kind of work for many sectors of the economy for many, many years. We generally, through our career centers, have 500,000 people a year register in our career centers. We actually place about 175,000 to 200,000 people a year in jobs in all across industries in the state of Alabama. We have professionals there that can help you recruit the labor you're looking for and can help you hire the labor you're looking for. So all we ask you to do is take advantage of a service that doesn't cost you anything. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Williams. I'm with the Alabama Department of Corrections. I'm Deputy Commissioner. Our Prison Commissioner, Kim Thomas, would have liked to have been with you today, but other matters have kept him in another part of the state. I'm going to talk to you just a few minutes about our work release program. Many of you may already be familiar with the Alabama Department of Corrections work release program. It's not a new program. It's something that's been in existence for a number of years. Our primary purpose, of course, with our work release program is to reintegrate offenders back into the community. As many will note, the majority of the inmates that go to prison in the state eventually get out of prison. But while they're in prison, there is a separation between the individuals and the community. And upon reentry, a lot of the factors and a lot of things that's very important to successful reentry, as many of you might imagine, is employment. So through our work release program, and only a select group of individuals are eventually eligible for work release. Out of the 26,000 plus offenders, we have approximately 2,600 of those offenders in our work release program. We have approximately 11 work release centers around the state. 2 are in this particular area, 1 in Mobile and 1 in Loxley. Some of you may have already had some experiences with our work release program. I'd like to tell you that we have 2 of our wardens from, one from Loxley. Warden Reynolds is here today, and after we're finished here, you'd like to talk with Warden Reynolds, he'll be available to do so. We have Warden Folks, who is the warden at our Mobile work release facility. He has his job placement officer with him, and all of our work release programs, just to give you just a little bit of backdrop, all of our work release programs have a job placement officer. And that job placement officer's primary job is to make contact with potential employers in the community. And clearly that works two ways. For those employees that are familiar with our work release facility, in many cases they contact us. There are, of course, employees in the community who may not be familiar. And our job placement officers work daily to make contact with potential employers. Now, I can tell you that the vast majority of the jobs that we end up placing inmates in are not particularly in the agricultural industries, although there are a number of jobs that do, of course. One of the processes that we undertake in identifying inmates and matching those offenders with the appropriate job skills is every inmate that comes into our work release facility goes through a rigorous interview, and our staff determine what the person's particular skills are, what their particular training is, and then we try to match that individual with the right job. One of the other things we do, of course, as they transition back into the community, we would like for jobs to be permanent. To that end, we like to match inmates up with, or offenders up with jobs from their respective communities. As you can imagine, with only 11 facilities around the state, that's not always possible. And while we want to target full-time jobs, a lot of times we only end up providing part-time jobs for offenders. But we are a permanent fixture in the community. And we do have a continuous employment labor force that we're constantly searching for jobs. We offer you an invitation to visit our work release facilities or contact our work release facilities. We also have those facilities listed on the website if Alabama Department of Corrections, if you're from another part of the state. But if you're particularly in this area, then we invite you to consider our facilities in Loxley, Mobile, and we also have a facility in Atmore. The offenders that are employed, or it is a requirement that they be at least paid the prevailing wages based on the type of work that they perform, based on their skill set. Obviously, we seek the highest possible wage we can, because the offenders that are in our work release program are required to pay court-ordered costs, they have to pay restitution, and they also are working to provide some income for their families. In addition to that, to build some savings so that upon release, they can start to provide for a place to live. Also important to that end is that inmates in our work release program are required to pay a percentage of their upkeep. So the Department of Corrections takes a percentage of each offender's income to offset the cost of incarceration. But we believe that our work release program is a very useful program, not only to the offenders, but to the state and to the taxpayers. The offenders, of course, pay taxes. That further offsets the cost of operating our prisons throughout the state. So we would love to partner with you where possible. As I said, please feel free to contact the Department of Corrections and look up our facilities that are located on our website. If you have any questions about our program, I'll be available after the program to talk with you, along with a couple of other staff members. Thank you.
Jeffrey, thank you. Sorry I kind of left you hanging there, but I appreciate you moving on. The next guest I think you ought to be interested in, he is, lost my place, Rodolfo, I'm sorry, I'll do it in a minute. Rodolfo Alvarez of Guest Worker Services, who's had a lot of experience with his own business and in other states, working with legislation in other states as well. Before Rodolfo comes up here, let me tell you, we had a symposium in Birmingham last week, and we had several national and state speakers who are very knowledgeable about agribusiness, about food supply and food resources, and we were told that the agribusiness interest in this state and globally are going to have to produce twice as much food as we're producing now by 2050. So, and right now, in recent years, we've been increasing our agricultural food production by 1 or 2% a year. So, I think that puts a little into perspective the significance of what this immigration issue is if it's not addressed nationally in this country in a manner that's workable, but also in a manner that a lot of the food supplies, if you've had meat, chicken, vegetables, fruit, or any of that today, either from Alabama or from some other state or country, it came through the hands of an immigrant. I can just about guarantee you that. So if we're going to replace that workforce in Alabama, we've got to find out how we're going to do it, and I think the folks you're hearing from today are the best options that we have. So, Rodolfo, with that, would you come up?
Good afternoon. Well, you can see that I'm a little nervous, right? This is kind of intimidating. I'm accustomed to talk one-on-one with the farmers and people I deal with, not with an entire community here. But before I get started, I just like to say a quick thing because I see cameras around here, and I told my mom that I was going to show up my passport. I became a U.S. citizen last November, so I told my mom. I said, Mom, before I get if you see me on TV, I'm not doing anything wrong, right? Because lately, the Hispanic, sadly, the Hispanic people that are showing up on TV are the ones that are being deported. So I take that very personal, and you can hear that. I apologize for that, but I have a business. It's Guest Worker Specialist at GWS. I'm the CEO of the company, and I travel across the country from Washington with the apple growers to you guys out here. And yes, it is a big situation with the farm labor. Everybody's struggling to get some workers. Every farmer was accustomed to find workers in every corner, and it is not the situation right now. The workers are going away. True story, I was up in Vidalia, Georgia with the sweet onion growers out there, and just by pure casualty, I was in a little hotel, and behind me there's the Department of Labor office. And I went to introduce myself to them and get some paperwork from them. And as I was going to that office, across the street, just on the other side of the railroad tracks, there's a farm. And they had a huge sign looking for 600 workers. 400 workers for one field and 200 workers for another field. And I went like, my God, you know, I'm in heaven. Everybody's looking for me, right? And as I walked into the office, in the Department of Labor office, there's a huge line filing for unemployment. And I went, hey, listen, break up the line. I got great news for you guys. And so they got kind of encouraged, and I said, across the street, there are 600 openings right now. And as soon as they knew it was farm, you don't want to know what they say, right? But it is the situation, and I want to say, you know, that what we have going on right now, let me tell you that if you don't step, if you don't put your foot on the pedal right now, you guys are going to be scrambling for whatever little workers, even out of Mexico, you will find. The state of Michoacan, I am from that state, I was born there, is the largest, the largest agricultural state in Mexico. They are having, at this point, I was just down there, at this point, they are having to recruit people from South America, Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, and this is what you guys are going to be competing for. The guys, the government in Michoacan, after they recruit somebody from South America, they offer them free university for their kids. And after they have been working for 8 months for a company, they offer them housing. So I don't know if you guys can compete with that. This is the United States, and this is the most powerful country in Earth. So I think we should be able to compete with that, but we won't. And so we have, at this point, I'm going to tell you what we as a company have to offer. And well, after hearing everything and all the possibilities that are here, I don't think you guys need me, because I'm a bit expensive. Or you guys are going to spend some money on in recruit or getting H-2A workers, and you guys have a great system. So go with them. Okay, just go with them. That'll be a lot easier. But at this point, we have over 3,200 workers in Mexico with their passports on hand, ready to come in. And the one thing that I got passionate about this business for, it's not just about me making money. This business saves lives, because they don't have to die across the border. Looking for an opportunity, these people that are coming across the country, I live in Arizona, and I know how many people die out there in the desert. And so for me, being able to go down to Mexico and parts of South America and talk to the presidents and the small municipalities down there and letting them know that there is an opportunity for their people to come legally to the United States without risking their lives and have a contract under the belt to work, that's huge. We save lives. It's not just a business. And if you guys are struggling to get these workers, yes, of course, they're going to cost you. Of course. It's a huge process. Mr. Crabtree here, the director of the H-2A, H-2B program, he knows the headaches. And he knows all of the... If you guys have any questions about those programs, ask him. Don't ask me. This is great, right? Would you stand up, please? If you want to give somebody a headache with the H-2A, H-2B, call him, all right? Or just H-2A, okay. This is, we have, as I said, we as a company have 3,200 workers with their passports on hand, and I have a couple of offices, recruiting offices down in Mexico, so we can easily get our hands on a little over 5,000 workers. And it's a lot of work to recruit out there. You don't want to be dodging bullets with the cartels right now. The avocado growers in Michoacan cannot harvest their avocados because they're being pushed by the cartels. So it's another issue to get workers out of there. Whatever I charge, believe me, I earn it. Let me just let me tell you on what I believe is got to be done besides all these programs that you guys have here. One of the things is that forming co-ops. Mr. Crabtree knows the headache forming a co-op will be an answer or could be a possible answer for some of the small growers or small business owners because the process is expensive, and when you can form a co-op and share the cost of it, that will be offsetting the pain of all of your dollars going out of your wallet. And but in order to form the co-ops, there's a lot of work. The USDA has to get involved for a reason. I'll mention that right now. I'm glad the Commissioner of Agriculture is here. Alpha will have to get involved. ANLA, the Department of Labor, the Department of Immigration. It's all these entities that have to get involved in all this to make it happen. Why? Today, you and I paid a lot of taxes, and those taxes went into bailing out Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So the houses that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae have belong to you and I somehow, right? Now, there's a lot of empty homes. Not only in the state of Alabama, but across the country. Those empty homes are going to be sitting there for nothing, while you guys, and the farmers need these homes. So I don't have a voice in Washington, but you guys have a voice. You guys can do something, because those we pay for. And I would bet anything that because I talk to a lot of farmers out there, and they tell me, Rodolfo, if I didn't have to pay for the housing for the workers, if I didn't have to pay that money, I'll be more than happy to pay you to give me the workers here. And I have an example. There is one farmer up in Birmingham. He's contracting with us just 50 workers. These 50 workers, for the period of time he's going to need them, is going to cost him $28,000 for our services, including transportation and all. But he's going to pay $116,000 for housing. So, so I'm thinking, how much am I going to have to pay for tomatoes next year, right? So that also affects me, and I love vegetables, and so I don't want to go broke. So this is what needs to happen in order to make this going for you. If it's going to happen, the fruit and vegetable growers, as well as the nurseries and greenhouse growers, can determine, and you guys know how many workers you need per county. Once that is determined, we have to determine how many housing facilities we are going to need for per county. If that was if we're going to be putting this in place, the USDA and Housing Department can negotiate with Freddie Mac, and I know that for a fact. They can negotiate with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae to facilitate empty properties in these counties, either as low-cost properties financed at a low-cost interest or low-cost rentals. We know that these houses are going to be empty anyways. Alpha, I'm going to put some people in commitments here, and Mr. Mack, I just have to do it, you know. Alpha, ANLA, the USDA, and agriculture commissioners can advocate for federal grants to make this housing available. And I know that the federal and the state government may argue that they don't have the resources because we're all in a big deficit right now. Our budget is down. But they have what you guys need, which is the real estate, correct? So these guys here on these tables up here, I'm going to fly back to Phoenix sometime, but they're going to have to go do some work on top of what they're doing. And I know you guys are working hard. we can allocate a pool of workers in every county as needed, and you guys know the numbers. Farmers, growers, nurseries, and greenhouses can come to this pool of workers and request the amount of workers they need. The pool of workers can stay in the country for 10 months on their visa period. Now, a co-op can manage the expenses of the housing. They can do the management of the housing and also the management of the paperwork, and that and of course we are involved in that. We will ask the Labor Department, and I'm glad they're here, to be flexible for 2012, because this program needs time to develop and get all the details in place. So next year, if all the details are not in place, all the growers here, nurseries and landscapers will be struggling a lot. And so I'll ask the Labor Department not to break the law. I would never do that, but to be flexible with the people that need you at this point. We will ask the Director of Immigration, and I'm here. I'm glad that Mr. Crabtree is here to guide us on a individual basis to allow workers to go from county to county. As they finish the system in one county, they can move to another county if the housing is available. Because instead of sending these workers back to Mexico after the system is over, we can put them in another county and do some work, and that will also lower the cost for you guys as individuals. I know I'm dreaming, because I've been involved in this, and it's a pain in the neck and it's a headache. But we have to start with a dream, right? Housing from Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae will work for co-ops as well as for individuals that may not like to get involved in a co-op because they could also ask for qualifications to finance on their own, at a low cost. So that's going to be another point of work. And lastly, this is something very important to me, that we as a company, our company, have done the work, and we've been working for 5.5 years on this, so it's not new to us. We have the legal workforce that is needed. But what is good for me to have 3,200 workers or 5,000 workers on the other side of the border if nothing is being done here? So they're there. All we got to do is get to work together and build these co-ops if we need to. If we're going to go on the co-op side, if not, to start working individually. And so, how much do you employers will want to commit? Because I talk to individual employers. I call them on the phone and they tell me, Rodolfo, if somebody else do something, I'll get involved. And if I call somebody else and they tell me the same thing, but nobody's getting to nowhere. So so you employers, how much are you willing to commit? And the question for the officials here is also the same question. How much you as officials are willing to commit to get a program going? And I see the commitment, they're here. So that's a great thing. The state of Alabama has sent a real negative message out to the country, and not only to the country, but to the world, because everybody is seeing what's happening here in Alabama. Now, if we get this program together, if we get co-ops together and we start working as a team, then we'll send a new message that Alabama is willing to work and Alabama is together. So I thank you for having me here. It's a great opportunity, and I'll just love the possibilities to help you guys on whatever we can. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Rudolph. We appreciate you being here. The next presentation, where's Bobby go? You gonna do this? Bobby Cunningham, who I introduced earlier, is working with the department in faith-based organizations and churches in the community, and is going to comment on that program.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's good to be here today. My name is Bobby Cunningham. I am here as a representative of the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industry, and it is good to be before you guys. Personally, I just came out of the unemployment situation myself, so I have a personal understanding of how people feel that are presently unemployed. About to lose my house in foreclosure, looking at my boys, trying to figure out what we was going to do next, having to reassure my wife that everything was going to be okay was a hard pill to swallow. So I'm thankful to God for His grace to give me an opportunity to work. There are a lot of people like me that are out there that want to work, that are seeking work, but they have no idea about how to find employment. So John hired me. Being a pastor myself, I went directly to the religious community. We were pleasantly surprised with the amount of interest shown from the religious sectors across Mobile and Baldwin County when we approached them. Having been given the task of connecting the Department of Agriculture and Industries with different churches, we were able to tap into a real large size employment base. John and I talked to one pastor at a meeting that we had with the Association of Baptist Ministers of the Sunlight District, and one pastor approached John and I, and he said, given an opportunity, we could put on a job fair and we can have 400 people there that you can employ. We took that as being good information. Today I met this gentleman here, Mr. Franklin, and he has assured me that if we were to put together organizations like perhaps the Churches of God in Christ, the largest African-American Pentecostal church in the world, if we could put together an organization there in one of their facilities and bring their congregants and the people that they're affiliated with together and put on a job fair, that would give us direct contact with an employment base, and also get that unemployment base direct contact with those who are willing to employ. We have some pastors that we went into the community that make up different religious alliances. We have some Baptist churches. We have the Churches of God in Christ. We have the AOH churches. We have the AME, that's African Methodist Episcopal churches. We've touched bases with those ministries. And each church group pretty much said that given an opportunity, they were willing to bring themselves along with their congregants and use their facilities to set up opportunities to bring the two ends together. John pretty much been proactive about the whole situation. And as he continued to tell me about what his goals were concerning the number, it didn't matter about how we got there or what caused us to get there. The bottom line was that some way we could make this here thing work for both parties or all that were involved. I told the pastors, to a man or to a person, that all things work together for good if everybody in the room looked at things in a positive light. There is some light at the end of the tunnel if you choose to look at that glass half full instead of half empty. So hopefully, as we move forward, we can begin to align ourselves with entities like the Mobile Housing Authority, who have different housing projects or have different apartment complexes, and we can work along with different entities, and we can set up on the ground where people are currently unemployed. We can set up on the ground job fairs, working along with this gentleman and his organization. We can also work with the Pritchard Housing Authority. I looked today as I got an email, and in the African American community, the unemployment numbers were 15.5. That's the highest in any category. So we know that there is a person that want to be employed. The thing is, how do we connect those individuals to the people that want to employ? So as we work this thing out, we are hopeful that those that hear me today will contact me. I can be reached. I have my cards with me. I can be contacted, and we can begin to move forward. These pastors are excited because there's nothing like having a young man or a young lady that want to work, but yet not able to find employment. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bobby, and we appreciate your efforts. And our last presentation today is going to be from Matt Higginbotham with the Alabama Farmers Federation.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the opportunity to come today. My name is Matt Higginbotham. I work with the Alabama Farmers Federation. I work closely with the fruit and vegetable nursery and sod growers across the state. And I can tell you, it's been a difficult issue to face this year. We've got a lot of farmers who are in dire need of labor. We got some shortages. We got some crops that are rotting. And so basically, we understand the dire need that businesses and farmers are facing at this time. The need for a legal labor workforce is critical. You know, people just don't apply for agriculture jobs all the time. It's short, it's temporary in nature. It only lasts about 3 months out of the year. So it's not very attractive to draw in labor force. So we've got this issue of the lack of people coming forward. The other thing that makes this issue so complicated is you got border security. When I say border security and immigration, I'm talking about immigration meaning jobs. Jobs is an important part of the workforce in this country. The border security issue always comes up during economic crisis, and the labor issue comes up during the economic shortage. So basically, we see this as a federal issue, and we feel like it must be handled comprehensively, and it also needs to address the need for immigrants at the same time. The other thing is farmers and businesses have been impacted by this law, so our emphasis is trying to educate them on how to be in compliance. Our second focus is to work with Congress to try to improve the current guest worker programs that Rodolfo Alvarez was talking about. You know, and you ask why Congress, because on September 21st, the House Judiciary Committee passed H.R. 2885, which is the Legal Workforce Act. And what that bill does, it mandates E-Verify for every state in the United States. So we feel like it's critical, if they're going to mandate E-Verify for every state, it must be accompanied with some type of guest worker program. There are several bills that have been introduced at this time in Congress. One of them by Representative Lamar Smith from Texas. H.R. 2874, it's called the American Specialty Agriculture Act. It's got a lot of positive features to the bill, some of which address a lot of farmers' needs, but at the same time it doesn't fill the gap of the shortage of labor that we're facing. Another one that we see is by Representative Dan Lundgren of California. The Legal Agriculture Workforce Act is H.R. 2895. It offers more flexibility. One of the problems with H-2A is if someone's in dairy, he's limited to 8 to 10 months out of the year, and dairy requires a year-round activity. Also, a lot of farmers and businesses need someone for that key year-round person. So just having a temporary 6 to 8 month staffer through H2A is it's not workable for us. Both Smith and Lundgren, they've got some proposals that have positive features, but I would say Smith's includes a cap of, say, 500,000 visas. A lot of farmers and businesses would like to see that cap increase. Agriculture requires 3.3 million jobs a year, and we're not filling those gaps. There's opportunities for several people to come and work in our industry. Representative Jason Chaffetz of Utah sponsored a bill that actually passed the House last Tuesday called the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act, which is H.R. 3012. If it's passed into law, it eliminates the per-county numerical limitation that's for employment-based immigrants. The Immigration and Nationality Act generally provides that the total number of employment-based immigrant visas made from a foreign country cannot exceed 7% of that country. So just to simplify that for you, there's 140,000 green cards issued in the United States per year. 7% of that cannot come from one country or more. It has to stay at 7% or less. This bill would do away with that 7% limit and would also increase it up to 15% for families of 2 people or more, from what I gather. Additional bills have been introduced recently. Therefore, we just feel it's urgent that you contact your senator or your congressman and let them know what you're facing in the business industry and the labor shortage that you're facing. You know, we hear a lot of criticism that farmers don't pay enough. Well, when you build a house, you pay per square foot. Well, when a farmer picks a crop, he's paying on how much crop is brought in. He's not paying cheap wages. It's based upon the work ethic that person puts in the field. But in closing, I just want to thank Commissioner McMillan for allowing us to have this dialogue today. I appreciate what your department's doing and the webinars. It's been great to come out and hear everybody's concerns. If there's anything I can do to help, thanks.
Certainly grateful to all of our presenters for being able to be here, and I think this has been great information. I've learned a lot of things about the job credits, tax credits, and those kind of things that I was not aware of. James, do you or Rebecca?
Just want to make one comment. Thank you, Commissioner, for putting this together with your staff. On behalf of the South Alabama Nursery and Landscape Association, Alabama Nursery and Landscape Association, thank you very much for that. A part of, Matt just mentioned a few moments ago, the compliance part of the Alabama immigration law. There's several webinars that have been done over the last month or so. If you have any questions about being in compliance, I'll be glad to answer some of those questions. Matt would also. And the first dates are coming up on January the 1st. The other dates are April the 1st of 2012. Let me just encourage you, you need to be in compliance. The penalties are very great for not being in compliance with Alabama immigration law. And let me encourage you to do that. And again, thank you, John, for all you do and your support of Alabama green industry.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Appreciate you all here. We got I want to take maybe about 5 minutes for some questions if we have any. Jesse Hernandez, a recent acquaintance of mine from Birmingham, has been active in all of this. Jesse, did you have a question or a comment?
I do, and obviously this is a very complicated and emotional and sensitive issue. My question to the panel is, what if we can't find a common solution? What if we can't find an answer that's going to satisfy the market? What will be the cost and the implications of not being able to come up with a viable solution for everyone?
Well, I don't know that we've got any concrete figures, but I can tell you from my travels around the state and my meetings with farmers, particularly produce growers, fruits and vegetables, poultry, it's going to be a substantial economic impact in Alabama, real big. Already has been some this year, and if there was one single thing I was going to change about the whole thing, I would have postponed the implementation date so that folks like a lot of the folks here that are now caught without employees would have more opportunity to phase into the program. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Last summer, Alabama employers were faced with a situation where the Department of Industrial Relations ran out of money for unemployment compensation. And participating in a guest worker program, of course, we're encouraged to hire residents or locals, and of course, in some cases, as Mr. Brown was pointing out, we can hire ex-inmates to do the work. But in the past, we've had a problem with hiring them on a contract with the Department of Industrial Relations, and then those employees turning around after that contract is expired, they turn around and they file unemployment, to which the Department of Industrial Relations grants them unemployment, even though they understood that this contract started on this date, ended on this date, and yet they file unemployment on the employer who gave them a job, and then they're compensated, and even up to 10 months to a year after the contract is ended, they are given unemployment compensation. And the problem is greatly exacerbated by the fact that even after multiple appeals, the Department of Industrial Relations continues to give them unemployment compensation. Now, my point being, this makes small employers who want to employ people and are willing to go work with the Department of Labor in an H-2A program, it makes them gun shy, because they're faced with the possibility that if they hire a guy, he's going to turn around and not work because he's already worked 5 or 6 months and he's done. He don't want to work anymore. He just files unemployment and he gets it. Is there any mechanism in place to address that problem?
I'm not familiar with that particular situation. I work with the Employment Service Division, but I do know that if someone is released from a job, let go, fired from a job, they certainly, would not, they could file for unemployment compensation, but if you go through the appeals process as an employer to fight that and tell them this person did not show up, this person was let go, they were fired because of performance, lack of performance, they would not be eligible for unemployment compensation.
This is not a case where they were fired and let go. This is a case where the contract terminated, the work was done, they were let go like everybody else.
What contract was this?
H-2A. H-2A work program. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Chip, you got something to add to that?
Yeah, the ones that come in here on H-2A visa, now they wouldn't be.
No, these are Alabama residents.
And I don't know, like Mr. Brantley said, and I don't want to say too much as far as unemployment is concerned. Some of those people may have worked somewhere else in the last 5 quarters. I don't know the situation. Maybe tell us
This is where it's going to be important, and this is a good example for us to be able to communicate with you all, particularly by email. We'll get you, Daniel Archer, back there in the white shirt, is our lead attorney at the department, and he'll be happy to get your contact information, and we'll answer that, respond to that to everybody that's here that gives us an email address. Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
One quick question. Allow me to call them undocumented workers who are here now. Is there any way that Mr. Alvarez or New York here somehow or another incorporate them into making them somehow have status here? Be cheaper than going to Mexico and bringing them in. They're already here. Is there any movement on some of that risky workers who are already here but are here without the documentation to do something to get them?
And I think I can respond to that. That is the reason this issue needs to be addressed nationally. When the National Association of the Commissioners of Agriculture met earlier this fall, we came up with a position paper that basically had 3 things in it. Number 1, the border's got to be secured. Number 2, we've got to have a viable guest worker program. And number 3, we've got to do something about the 11.5 or 12 million undocumented workers that are in this country. And that, your comment fits right into that category, and basically that's an issue the state can't deal with. We had two other gentlemen. Yes, sir.
Somebody from Mexico working for American dollars has money with quite a bit of purchasing power when that is sent back to Mexico or taken back by them. Working for those same wages by American citizens in this country where the cost of living is much greater, are they going to be able to sustain a decent life, or are these wages going to drive them into poverty at the higher cost of living here? Or are farm wages going to go up to compensate for the difference?
Well, you know, you could probably get as many different rhetorical answers to that as you can think of questions, but the jobs that we're talking about here today, most of them would be in the $10 to $12 an hour range. In some cases more, in some, of course, down to minimum wage. But, you know, the standard of living in the two countries is totally different. And a lot of those factors enter into it. Well, and Rodolfo probably can give you some first-hand answer to that better than I can.
Most of the farmers, and you guys are aware of this, that they pay by piece, you know, in agriculture. And a lot of the workers that come from Mexico, if you ask them if they want to receive an hourly wage, even if they increment it to $12, $13 an hour, they will say no, because they're good at what they do. But it's the work ethic, as Mr. Mackey had mentioned before. I believe the Labor Department is the one that sets the prevailing wage. And they are the ones adjusting the cost of living accordingly.
We had one other gentleman. Yes, sir.
I would like to represent, if I could, a small group of men that have been incarcerated, that are out and actually trying to do what's right, staying in the right path, looking for all the suggestions that people give me. I've been out 2 years. Yesterday, I've been to the unemployment office. I've been to career centers. My name is all over the internet when I'm trying to find a job. I want work. And I would hate the fact that people will come in and have it where people would not want to hire us ex-convicts. Because everyone that's out that's really trying, people that are really successful in doing these things, they have to come and meet people like this. We have to expose ourselves and let you know that I made a mistake in life. But I paid for that. And I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that my family and my grandchildren and everybody, that they gain the respect and the trust back that they had in me. It's been a struggle, but I heard about this place, and I want to come out and let myself be known, because there are some men that have been incarcerated that will do the right thing, that want to work and that will work. Y'all just please do the change.
Are you employed now?
No, sir, I'm not.
While all of us, let me say thank you for being willing to stand up and make your presentation. And I think if you were visiting around with some of these employers here today, you might have made an opportunity for yourself.
John, we were invited by one of the transitional facility person, Michael Thomas, and we're going to actually put down the job fairs, and I've talked to them, and we're going to make certain, I give you my word, you will be employed. That's what the churches are going to do. We're going to bring people to the employers, just like this gentleman here, that's ready to work yesterday. Okay, God bless you.
I think that's, okay, one more.
I have been in contact with the Department of Agriculture and Industry back when the law first went into effect, and trying to figure out how exactly to get a hold of all these employers who were having trouble meeting their needs for the harvest. I looked through Alabama Job Link. The UFW oftentimes refers people to JobCentral.com. And I looked all over the internet and all around the state, calling every agency I could get a hold of. I couldn't find one employer who was, or anyway, the means to contact one employer who was looking to hire on farm workers during the harvest. Are these jobs now posted through Alabama and JobLink? Because what the fellow from the Department of Agriculture and Industry was telling me at the time was basically that it was all being networked through the prison, and that my best bet would be to contact the nearest prison to see how exactly that was being handled.
Next time, call me. All right. You want to respond to that, Mike? Let's go.
I got a question.
All right, wait just a minute.
I brought 3 listings that's in JobLink right now for agriculture workers. And what the issue may be is how it's defined. Some jobs are listed on the farm workers, some jobs are listed on the horticultural workers. They have different types.
So these are now on.
Yeah, they're on the job list. I actually brought them.
Okay, Mike, go ahead. Okay, thanks.
I'm saying question, brother, is that I have a facility where I house guys who get out of prison. We got about 48 guys now. Out of 48 guys, I got about 20 guys who are working. Not long ago, we had a job that hired temporary labor. And on this particular job, they had about 16 guys. They found out that the guys were ex-felons. They fired every guy. I don't know what the protocol for that job or what it was, but it wasn't no high-tech job where the guy couldn't get it because they were hiring the same guys from labor finders who come from every aspect of the community. And so one of the biggest challenges that we have, and I like for the business community, especially employees, let's look at these guys. Look at these guys not as a corporate group. One apple don't fall the whole bunch. We got a lot of good guys. I got young guys. We got 22 guys on the SRP program, that supervised re-entry program. They still part of the Department of Corrections, and they allow them because of their status being guys who have proved themselves to be good guys in the prison system, and they allow them to get out 6 months early prior to their release. And so we try to do is help them transition back. And one of the biggest problems that we're having is that we're not able to find jobs. And if we don't have jobs, these guys, they fall into that limbo. And they're going to go back to doing old things if you don't get employed. And it's hard. And really, we need the community, especially these business people. Let's give these guys a chance. Everybody needs a chance. Not just church, our pastor, but we need the community. We need the folks who got the job to help us find jobs for these guys that they may help better themselves. Amen? Amen. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and Bobby and I have visited with Chaplain Thomas's facility, and you all will not believe the program he's got going on there and the good he's doing in this Mobile community. I do want to ask all the ministers here to stand that are going to participate in this program, or church representatives. And I would go so far. I've met with these folks, some of them more than once, and I would like to challenge the other agencies here to do what I believe these folks are going to do in finding good employees. And we've talked to some of them about mentoring programs, and I think all of us are going to be very pleasantly pleased with the efforts that you all are going to make, and I want to put that challenge on you. And Bobby will be continuing to work with you. Thanks for all of you. I think we're going to go ahead and one more question. Yes, ma'am.
And as you have these different meetings throughout the state, are you going to have postings on the website that kind of updates all of us, or questions and answers, or anything like that?
We will. And thank you for bringing it up, because I wanted to mention that we'll have all the contact information from the presenters you've heard here today on our website real soon. I'm not sure whether we can do it by Monday, but we'll have it on there in the next few days. Let's go ahead and break up now, and I'm going to ask you all to go around on the back side of this hallway here and be prepared to meet with anybody that wants to meet with you individually. Thanks to everybody for being here.